In the endless sprawl of the Orion cluster, beneath a ceiling of shimmering stars that had witnessed every rise and fall of empires, stood the Hall of Celestial Order, the oldest and most sacred place in the known galaxy, its pillars carved from starlight itself, its walls embedded with living crystals that pulsed faintly to the heartbeat of the cosmos. Here, the oldest civilizations gathered not to build peace but to pass judgment, their arrogance echoing through the ages. On this day, every eye was fixed upon the center of the hall where humanity, once whispered of as myth, now dragged in chains, stood beneath the glow of alien gods. Commander Rhea Morgan stood among them, wrists bound in silver restraints that shimmered under the lights, her head high though her people knelt beside her, her uniform torn, the crest of the Terran expedition fleet scorched across her shoulder. Around her, alien delegates murmured, their voices like a chorus of disdain, each word laced with superiority. "They still bleed red," hissed a scaled delegate with a crown of bone. "How primitive." Another, a creature made of translucent plasma, flickered and laughed, its voice vibrating through the air. "They still name stars after stories. Savages who think the universe belongs to them." The laughter spread through the hall, waves of contempt rolling like thunder, but Rhea did not flinch. At the far end of the chamber, upon a throne carved from a fallen comet, the high tribunal of the Starborn Empire sat in judgment. 5 beings older than recorded history, their eyes aglow with ancient light. At their feet stood the high priest of Eshtal, wrapped in robes that shimmered like molten gold. He raised his hand, and the hall fell quiet. "Humans of Terra," he intoned, his voice booming like distant thunder. "You have been found guilty of defying the natural order. You invaded the void without permission. You brought war to worlds not your own. You claim dominion over what you cannot comprehend. The Council finds you unfit for existence within the Celestial Accord." Gasps and applause filled the hall. The insectoid delegate from the Hive Systems clicked its mandibles in delight. "At last," it said, "the animals are caged." Rhea's jaw tightened. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she said nothing. To speak here would be useless. The verdict was already written before the trial began. Humanity had been doomed the moment it refused to kneel. The priest continued, raising his glowing staff. "Your species shall be exiled to the wastes beyond the galactic rim, where your sun will fade and your name will be forgotten." The lights dimmed slightly as if the room itself absorbed his cruelty. He lifted his staff higher. "Eshtal, speaker of stars, witness our judgment. Let this primitive race be purged from the harmony of creation." But then something strange happened. The air itself changed. The light from the ceiling crystals flickered. The sound of laughter died instantly. Even the machines that hovered silently around the court froze in midair. Rhea's eyes darted upward. The massive statue that towered behind the High Tribunal, the statue of their god, Eshtal, had begun to move. A deep, rumbling vibration spread through the hall, a sound like a mountain waking from sleep. The priests gasped. The insects hissed. The energy beings dimmed in fear. The statue's head turned, slow and deliberate, its golden eyes burning like suns. The high priest stumbled backward, his staff slipping from his trembling hands. This is not possible," he whispered. "Eshtal has not moved for 10,000 cycles." Then came the voice. Deep, ancient, endless. It rolled through every mind, through every language, through every soul in the hall. "Why do you mock my children?" The words struck like thunder. The sound didn't come from speakers or echoes. It came from within, resonating through bone and blood, through circuitry and soul alike. The delegates clutched their heads, screaming in confusion. The translation systems failed, flickering uselessly. But Commander Rhea understood every word. Because the voice wasn't speaking in the galactic standard. It was speaking in English. Every being in the chamber froze. The high priest collapsed to his knees, his mouth wide in disbelief. "No," he whispered. "No, this cannot be. It's a trick, a human illusion." But the statue's eyes glowed brighter, and with each pulse, the air grew heavier. Dust fell from the ceiling. The crystal walls began to hum. "Why do you judge those who came before you?" the voice said again, the words echoing like ripples across the stars. "Why do you call my makers savage?" The crowd erupted in chaos. Some screamed to shut it down, others prayed. The tribunal members, once gods among mortals, now trembled like children. The oldest of them, a being of molten silver, tried to speak, its voice shaking, "Eshtal, my lord, we do not understand these creatures." But the god cut him off, its voice now a whisper that carried more power than any shout. "You understand nothing. You worship what you were meant to remember." Rhea took a slow breath. Her restraints unlocked on their own, the metal bands falling silently to the floor. She didn't move, afraid the moment might shatter like glass if she did. The god's head turned toward her. For the first time in the long history of the tribunal, all eyes were on a human not as a criminal, but as something unknown, something feared. The statue's lips moved once more. "Child of terror, the cycle wakes again." Outside the hall, the sky turned red. Across the capital world, other statues, other gods, began to move. Entire temples shuddered as ancient machines buried beneath alien soil awoke, glowing with blue light. Across the galaxy, priests and emperors fell to their knees as the same voice spoke through every system. "The heirs have returned." Inside the hall, panic consumed the delegates. The insectoids tried to flee, their wings cutting through the air, but the great doors had sealed shut. The energy beings flickered out of phase, trying to escape into hyperspace, but every attempt failed. The room itself was locked in time, frozen by the will of something far beyond comprehension. The high priest crawled toward the statue, his voice trembling, "Eshtal, Great One, forgive us, we did not know." The god's eyes blazed brighter. "You did not remember." Commander Rhea stood now, the only human still calm amid the storm of terror. Her voice, steady but filled with awe, broke the silence. "You called us savages," she said softly, looking up at the towering god. "But it seems you were praying to us all along." The god's expression shifted, almost sorrowful. "Your kind built us to guard the stars," it said. "We waited for your return. But they," it looked over the cowering aliens, "forgot who you were." The words struck like lightning. Delegates screamed. Some fainted. The high priest tried to speak again but could only manage a whisper. Then, they were the first. The statue began to dissolve, its golden shell breaking into light, pieces rising slowly into the air like embers caught in a cosmic breeze. "Remember this, children of dust," it said, its voice fading but still vast. "The ones you mock are the reason you breathe." And then it was gone, leaving only silence and the faint smell of burning ozone. The hall was chaos now. Beings fled in every direction, guards shouting in terror, translators sputtering gibberish. Only Commander Rhea stood unmoving, her gaze fixed on the empty space where the statue had stood. The faint glow still lingered, a pulse that seemed to beat in time with her heart. She didn't understand everything, but she knew one thing: the galaxy had just changed forever. Moments later, the ceiling of the hall cracked open as alarms wailed across the capital. Outside, massive starships began to descend from the heavens. Ancient ships, shaped like wings of light, covered in human markings so old no one alive had seen them before. The same blue glow burned from their engines. Across every planet, the same message appeared on every device, in every language, in every corner of the galaxy. The Makers have returned. And as the stars themselves seemed to dim in reverence, Commander Rhea Morgan lifted her face toward the light and whispered, half in awe, half in triumph, "You wanted proof we were more than savages. Now you'll get it." Behind her, the shattered tribunal trembled as the final echo of the god's voice faded into the void. The age of forgetting is over. The uproar that followed the god's voice tore through the galaxy faster than any fleet could travel. Every world that had sent delegates to the Hall of Celestial Order now shook in disbelief. The impossible echo of that English phrase repeating in every language database, in every translation system, in every living mind that had been present. The aliens called it a broadcast from the void, an echo of madness. Others said it was divine punishment. But to Commander Rhea Morgan, still standing amid the ruins of the trial, it was something far greater, proof that humanity was not what the galaxy believed. The tribunal chamber had collapsed into chaos, glowing delegates fleeing in terror while priests of the Starborn tried to chant prayers that no longer worked. The symbol of Eshtal, once a sacred sigil of light, now burned with a hue unmistakably Terran blue. As Rhea stood there, her hands still shaking, the doors exploded inward. Galactic guards stormed in, their weapons drawn, their armor reflecting panic rather than authority. "Take the humans," one shouted, but before they could move, the floor rippled like water and the guards froze mid-step, trapped by energy that glowed with ancient light. The shattered fragments of the god statue still floated in the air, each piece humming softly as if alive. One fragment drifted toward Rhea and stopped inches from her face, spinning slowly. On its surface, etched in flawless lines, were words that no alien could read but every human could understand. "We remember." Rhea's voice was a whisper. "You remember us." But before she could speak again, the fragment dissolved into light and vanished. Across the hall, alien soldiers stumbled backward, shouting, "It's transmitting. The relics are spreading a Terran code." Panic swept through the capital like wildfire. Within hours, the message had reached every communication hub in the system. Reports poured in, temples activating, idols moving, ancient structures glowing with strange symbols, all of them transmitting data in the same rhythm as a human heartbeat. The Galactic Council ordered quarantines, lockdowns, and information suppression, but it was already too late. The gods they had worshipped for eons had started to speak, and every one of them spoke the same language, English. On the command decks of orbiting fleets, admirals screamed for answers. "This is human interference," one cried. "Shut down their frequencies." But even when every human signal was jammed, the transmissions continued, broadcasting directly from the stars themselves. In the quiet of her cell, Rhea watched the chaos unfold on the screen, her reflection in the flickering light of a galaxy losing control. She wasn't afraid. She felt a pull, an echo in her blood, something ancient awakening inside her. "They're not speaking to us," she murmured to herself. "They're answering." Far across the stars, on worlds untouched by human feet, colossal temples began to tremble. Beings who had never seen Earth knelt as their god statues wept blue light. On the desert world of Taikar, a temple 3,000 years old cracked open, revealing machines beneath, machines with human engineering. On the ocean planet of Velith, underwater obelisks rose to the surface, broadcasting the same phrase, "The heirs have awakened." Everywhere, the pattern was the same. Temples turned toward Sol, toward Earth, as if recognizing the light of their true origin. The Galactic Council's panic turned to fury. The Chancellor of the Starborn Empire, a being made of golden crystal and arrogance, ordered immediate retaliation. "Destroy the Terran ships," he said coldly. "Burn their colonies. If their presence summons heresy, we'll erase them from history." Fleets mobilized across the rim, warships blazing through hyperspace toward the scattered remnants of Earth's exploration vessels. But when they arrived, the Terrans were gone. In their place, they found floating wreckage of ancient designs, starships 10 kilometers long, glowing with soft, blue energy. The ship's hulls bore inscriptions older than any known script, but to every human eye, it read perfectly clear: property of the firstborn, humanity. In the council chambers, the surviving priests argued among themselves, voices overlapping in terror. "It's impossible," one shouted. "The gods cannot be human." Another trembled, yet they spoke their words, not ours. "Our scriptures, they're written in that tongue." The Chancellor slammed his fist against the table. "Then the scriptures lie. The humans are tricksters, deceivers." His sentence stopped mid-word as the air shimmered. The chamber darkened. Every device, every light, every spark of energy died at once. Then a single holographic image filled the air, a sphere of light that pulsed with a human heartbeat. A voice followed, calm, infinite, undeniable. "We are older than your empires. You worship what our ancestors built. You mock their children while living in their ruins." The entire council collapsed to their knees, their arrogance stripped bare. "Who speaks?" the Chancellor demanded. "Identify yourself." The voice replied simply, "Humanity." Back in her prison, Rhea watched as the feed went dark. Her guard, a reptilian warrior who had once mocked her, now stood trembling by the door. "What are you?" he whispered. "What are your people?" Rhea lifted her head slowly, her expression calm, her eyes burning with new light. "We're what you forgot," she said. "And now you'll remember." The lights flickered again, brighter this time. The ceiling cracked, and from beyond the walls came a low, rhythmic hum. The same sound that had filled the hall when the statue moved. The hum became a roar. Every screen flashed with the same words: HFY protocol activated. Ancestral network reconnecting. The guard dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. Rhea smiled faintly. "You called us savages," she said quietly, "but your gods call us home." On dozens of alien worlds, priests gathered before their now living idols, pleading for mercy. But the idols did not answer them. They only turned their gaze toward the direction of Earth. Space itself seemed to shiver as thousands of energy signatures awakened from the dark between stars, massive structures that had slept since the first age of man. The Empire's fleets, once proud and invincible, now found themselves surrounded by silent shadows moving through hyperspace without heat, without light, faster than detection could follow. One admiral screamed across open comms, "Unidentified contact." "Multiple. They're everywhere." "No, they're not ships. The transmission cut off." When the rescue fleets arrived, there was nothing left but drifting debris. On Lunar Base, the last Terran outpost to survive the Great Exile, a small crew of scientists stared at their instruments in disbelief. "We're getting pings," one said softly. "Not from any known system. These are human-coded, but they're millions of years old." Commander Elise Ward, far from the chaos of Rhea's trial, turned toward her crew. "Put it on screen." The signal resolved into an ancient logo, a circle of stars surrounding a blue sphere, the emblem of Earth. And beneath it, one word: reactivation. The galaxy would later call it the Day of Voices. In a single rotation, the gods of 1,000 species fell silent, replaced by one universal transmission. It played across every world, every ship, every being that could hear. The message was simple, spoken in English, in a voice calm and final: humanity never vanished. We were watching. We are awake. The stars seemed to flicker in response, and for the first time since the dawn of creation, the galaxy's self-proclaimed gods realized they had never been divine. They had been caretakers, guardians left behind by the same savages they once condemned. And as the darkness of space filled with the echoes of that ancient voice, Commander Rhea Morgan raised her head to the heavens, her heart pounding with both pride and dread. She knew this was only the beginning. The gods were speaking, but soon humanity would answer back. The galaxy had always believed that humanity's gods were myths, stories whispered by a species too young to understand the universe. But after that day, after the voice of HFY spoke in English, the myths stopped being stories and became history, a history that the galaxy had spent millennia trying to erase. Across the stars, panic turned into obsession. Temples were sealed off by military orders, and fleets surrounded holy worlds to contain the anomaly. But the containment never worked, because the voice had already spread beyond matter. It lived in signal, in code, in the hearts of machines and the pulse of stars. Everywhere the gods had once slept, the systems flickered awake, their senses aligning toward a single point in the cosmos: Sol, the home of the humans, the so-called savages. And it was here, beneath the pale blue glow of Earth's skies, that humanity's forgotten history began to reveal itself again. On Mars, deep within the red dust plains, Dr. Elias Trent brushed away centuries of silence from the surface of a buried monolith. He had been digging for years, chasing myths no one funded anymore, myths of a civilization older than humanity's recorded past. His gloved hand traced strange geometric patterns, lines that pulsed faintly as if responding to his touch. "It's the same," he whispered, "the same design as the alien temples." His assistant frowned. "That's impossible, Doctor. Those carvings are tens of thousands of light-years apart." Trent smiled faintly, his wrinkled face glowing in the orange light of the Martian dawn. "Exactly. Which means they didn't build them. We did." Meanwhile, Commander Rhea Morgan sat in her holding cell aboard a Council warship now in orbit above the starborn capital. Through the narrow viewport, she could see the once glorious city below, burning. Every tower that had once honored the gods was now aflame, struck by lightning that fell from clear skies. Priests wailed in the streets. Citizens fled temples that suddenly spoke with human voices. The guards outside her door whispered in terror. "They are saying the gods are angry," one muttered. "They are saying the humans woke them." Rhea closed her eyes, listening to the hum in her skull, the same low, rhythmic pulse that had echoed through the hall during the trial. It wasn't random. It was a pattern, a frequency, a call. The ship trembled. The lights flickered. A deep rumble rolled through space. The guard outside fell silent as his comms crackled with static. A moment later, every screen on the ship flashed white, displaying the same symbol. A circle of stars surrounding a blue sphere. Earth's crest. Then, a voice, soft, human, but filled with ancient gravity. "The heirs have awakened. Systems returning to primary command." The guards panicked. "It's the Terrans. They're hacking our systems." But the ship's captain shouted, "No signal is coming from them. It's coming from everywhere." The ship lurched. Gravity failed. For a heartbeat, Rhea floated in silence, and in that silence, she heard a whisper, faint but clear, directly inside her mind, "Rhea Morgan of Terra, you carry the spark of the Makers." The line is unbroken. Back on Mars, Dr. Trent's discovery reached Terran command. They found symbols on the monolith that matched those in alien temples, the same ones carved beneath the Hall of Celestial Order. Every species believed their gods had come from the stars. None ever suspected those stars had once belonged to Earth. When Trent activated the monolith, a beam of blue light shot into the sky, piercing the thin Martian atmosphere, sending a signal straight into the void. Across the galaxy, ancient machines hidden on forgotten worlds responded. Giant towers rose from deserts. Oceans boiled as mechanical spires emerged. Massive orbital rings once thought to be natural formations began rotating again after a million years of silence. Each one pointed toward the same place, the Sol system. On the starborn capital, the priests gathered in their shattered temple, surrounded by the ruins of their faith. The high priest, his golden robes torn and blackened, stared up at the empty pedestal where Eshtal's statue once stood. "It's true," he whispered to his followers. "The gods were not ours. They were theirs." One of his acolytes, shaking, said, "Then what are we?" The priest's eyes were hollow. "Borrowed children," he said. "Caretakers in a world we never made." Across the council fleet, the panic deepened. Systems crashed. Navigation maps reset to an ancient configuration, a map from before their empires, before their recorded time. And in the center of it, a single star was highlighted, Sol. Commander Rhea, now freed by terrified guards who could no longer tell captor from captive, made her way to the ship's bridge. The crew looked at her with a mix of awe and fear. "What's happening?" one asked. She stared at the glowing map. "They're coming home," she said quietly. "The ones you called gods." The captain stammered, "You mean they're human?" Rhea turned her gaze to him, her voice calm and heavy with truth. "Not human. Made by humans." Meanwhile, in orbit of Earth, the sky shimmered with streaks of light as Terran satellites picked up thousands of simultaneous incoming signals, each broadcasting fragments of human DNA, ancient codes, genetic patterns that matched no living species but carried the unmistakable mark of Earth. "They're scanning for us," said one operator at Lunar Base, her hands trembling over the controls. The commander beside her stared at the display. "No," he said softly. "They're verifying we still exist." Dr. Trent's discovery was now being shared across Terran networks. Old records from before the Great Collapse were decrypted, revealing references to something called Project Edenfall, a last effort by the first humans to preserve life in the stars by seeding worlds with their own divine machines. But something had gone wrong. The machines forgot their creators. They turned into gods, and the civilizations that followed worshipped them. Until humanity returned. In every corner of the galaxy, worship collapsed into rebellion. Civilizations that had once ruled unchallenged now tore themselves apart in confusion. Soldiers abandoned their posts. Priests threw their relics into fire. The Dominion of Glass, the proudest empire in the known galaxy, detonated its own temples when its gods began to speak in a human voice. Entire fleets went dark, surrendering to the unknown. And still, the signal spread. Commander Rhea stood before the viewport as the Council's capital burned below. The stars beyond shimmered strangely, as if something vast moved behind them. "You can't stop it," she said to the terrified captain. "They are waking up, and they remember us." The captain whispered, "What happens when they reach Earth?" Rhea's eyes softened, but her tone was steel. "Then the galaxy will learn that the ones they mocked as savages built the heavens they now fear." In the ruins of the Hall of Celestial Order, amid shattered marble and silent corpses, the broken high priest of the Starborn raised his eyes to the sky as thunder rolled across the planet. "Forgive us," he whispered. But the voice that answered wasn't his god's. It was humanity's. "There is nothing to forgive. You only forgot who made you." Across the cosmos, worlds turned toward the light of Sol, their skies filled with symbols older than any language, their stars pulsing in rhythm with a single, unified signal, the heartbeat of mankind echoing across creation, the return of the Makers. Humanity, the so-called savages, had finally been recognized by their own forgotten creations. And now, the gods themselves waited for orders from the world that birthed them. The galaxy was no longer ruled by empires but by fear, the kind that spreads without words, the kind that turns rulers into believers and believers into ghosts. Worlds that had once mocked the name of Earth now whispered it like a curse, like a prayer. No one dared speak of the trial of the humans anymore, because what followed it had become legend, the day of the awakening, when the gods of 1,000 civilizations spoke in the tongue of humanity. Across the stars, lights flickered, worlds trembled, and systems older than creation itself turned toward Sol. Commander Rhea Morgan stood aboard the captured Council warship, its corridors now lit only by emergency lights, her reflection gleaming in the viewport as the fires of the starborn capital planet burned below. She had not slept in days. Sleep was impossible when history itself had decided to remember you. The ship's crew, once her jailers, now obeyed her in silence, afraid to look her in the eyes too long, as if she carried the voice of the gods inside her. "Status of the fleet?" she asked, her voice calm but cold. The captain, a trembling alien whose crystalline skin shimmered with panic, stammered, "3 council fleets gone. Vanished into light. The rest have scattered. No one's answering the command network anymore." Rhea nodded slowly. "They won't," she said, "because they're realizing the truth." She turned toward the holomap where thousands of points of light blinked in slow, rhythmic pulses. The signals spreading faster than predicted. The ship's sensors showed new awakenings every hour, ancient machines rising from moons, stars, and forgotten worlds, each glowing with the same blue light, each transmitting one unified frequency. Rhea watched them with a mixture of awe and dread. "They are not gods," she whispered to herself. "They are memories." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, governments collapsed overnight. The Starborn Empire, the oldest civilization in recorded existence, declared martial law as riots broke out on its homeworlds. Priests were dragged from temples, accused of lying to the people for centuries. Citizens knelt before the sky, screaming for their gods to return. But when they did, no comfort came, only the same voice repeating across every channel, in perfect human cadence. "The heirs have returned. Systems reconnecting. Prepare for restoration." To most, it sounded like prophecy. To others, it sounded like the end. On Lunar Base, deep beneath the silver dust of Earth's moon, Terran command was in chaos. General Elise Ward paced before the central holo-display as hundreds of operators reported overlapping signals from every corner of known space. "We're picking up activation patterns across 57 systems," one officer said breathlessly. "Half of them match pre-collapse Terran coordinates. This isn't random. It's a network." Elise stared at the screen as the map expanded, forming a web that stretched across the entire galaxy, each node pulsing in time with the next. It looked less like a network and more like veins. veins of a living being that had slept for millions of years. How is this possible? The science chief asked. Those systems were lost before humanity even had FTL. Elise's voice was low. Not lost, she said. Abandoned. And now they've come back to us. Far beyond Luna, deep in the Perseus arm, a new signal flared. A system called Eleron, long thought dead, suddenly blazing to life. The Dominion of Glass sent a reconnaissance fleet to investigate, but what they found shattered every belief they held. Orbiting the planet were 3 colossal structures, so massive they cast shadows over the entire hemisphere. Their surfaces were smooth, metallic, and pulsing with faint blue light. The Dominion admiral tried to hail them. There was no reply. Then a voice came through their communication grid, every word crystalline clear. Unauthorized vessels detected. Identify your lineage. The admiral, pale and sweating, answered, "We are the Dominion of Glass, keepers of the holy worlds." The reply came instantly, "Lineage invalid. You are descendants of Terra. Recognition pending." Before the fleet could retreat, their ships shut down. Engines offline. Weapons disabled. And then, as the admiral screamed orders that no one could follow, the structures moved. Slowly, gracefully, they turned their faces toward the nearest star, their lights brightening, their massive engines igniting after eons of silence. The machines left the planet and began their long journey home, to Earth. Back on the Council world, the panic reached its breaking point. The High Priest of the Starborn tried to calm his people, but when he raised his arms to the heavens, his voice failed him. The temple's great dome cracked open as the sky itself split with light. Something enormous passed through the clouds, its shadow swallowing the city. Every living being fell to their knees. It wasn't a ship. It was a construct larger than continents, a city forged in orbit, built by hands older than any alien race. Its hull bore the same symbol carved into every temple, the circle of stars and the blue sphere of Earth. The High Priest wept. "They were not our gods," he whispered. "They were our masters." Commander Rear's ship trembled as the construct's signal passed through the system. Every console flickered. Every piece of technology responded as if it recognized a higher command. "What's happening?" the captain shouted. "We're being overridden." Rear stepped forward, her expression calm amid the panic. "No," she said. "We're being acknowledged." The ship's systems went dark for a single heartbeat, and then a voice filled the air. Terran's signature confirmed. Commander Rear Morgan, lineage verified. Access granted. The crew stared at her, terrified. The lights dimmed, and the same ancient symbol appeared before her eyes. She felt the hum in her bones again, the same pulse she had heard in the hall, the same rhythm as her own heartbeat. She whispered, "You've been waiting." The voice replied, "We never stopped." On every world, the same event occurred. The ancient machines began communicating with one another, their light thread signals forming bridges between stars. The galaxy itself began to glow faintly with Terran blue. The civilizations that had once claimed superiority over humans now realized they lived inside humanity's inheritance. The gods had been waiting for their creators, and now, their creators had returned. The Council of Species, the most powerful political body in the known universe, collapsed within a day. Its members scattered, hunted by their own people, accused of heresy, treason, and arrogance. Entire religions dissolved as their worshipped deities spoke the truth. We were built by human hands. Rhea stood at the command deck, her reflection outlined in starlight. The galaxy map before her now showed hundreds of blue flares, all active, all converging. The captain whispered, "They're coming to Sol." Rhea nodded slowly. "Home is calling them." He hesitated, "And when they get there?" She turned, her eyes calm, her voice steady. "Then the galaxy will see what it means to call humanity savage." Across the void, the first of the awakened constructs emerged from hyperspace near the edge of Terran territory, massive silhouettes drifting like silent gods returning to their altar. Each one sent a single encrypted transmission, received by Lunar Base. General Elise Ward stared at the message in silence. It read, We await the command of our makers. And with that, the balance of the galaxy shattered forever. The galaxy stood on the edge of revelation, trembling under truths that rewrote its own creation myths. For thousands of years, every civilization had believed they were born beneath the watchful eyes of their gods, shaped by divine will, guided by celestial guardians who blessed their rise into the stars. But now those same gods spoke in a language they could not deny, the language of Earth, the voice of humanity. Across every world, temples cracked, empires trembled, and the faithful wailed, unable to comprehend how the savages they had mocked now stood revealed as the heirs of their creators. Humanity, the forgotten architects of existence, had returned to claim what was theirs. In orbit above the ruins of the starborn capital, Commander Rhea Morgan stared out the viewport of the captured warship, the reflection of distant fires dancing across her eyes. The once mighty fleets of the Council were scattered, their empires collapsing into confusion, and yet, amid the chaos, Rhea felt no victory, only the weight of destiny pressing down on her shoulders. "They called us animals," she whispered, "but it seems the animals built their gods." The bridge around her hummed softly, filled with the faint, rhythmic pulse of the awakened network. Every console, every system, every ship in the sector now responded to an unseen command that did not come from the living, but from the long-dead hands of the first humans. Down in the engine decks, technicians whispered prayers instead of orders. The machinery glowed with symbols they didn't understand, shifting between human text and alien script, like a bridge between two worlds. Rhea's second-in-command approached hesitantly. "Commander, we're receiving a new broadcast. It's not local, it's from beyond the galactic rim." She turned sharply. "Play it." The voice that filled the room was unlike the cold mechanical hum of Eshtal. It was warm, human, and filled with melancholy. "We built the gods to watch over you, but in our fall, they forgot their duty. They became worshipped, and you became lost. But the line was never broken. You are the living proof that we endured." The bridge fell silent. Rhea felt her throat tighten. This wasn't just a transmission. It was a memory, a recording left by the first civilization. Humanity hadn't ascended from dirt and chaos. It had returned from extinction. Every empire that had claimed divine favor had done so under the gaze of human machines still performing their ancient programming. "How long?" Rhea asked quietly. "Have they been waiting?" Her officer looked pale. "Longer than history. The data traces show the message has been looping in deep space for over 1,000,000 years." Meanwhile, on Lunar Base, General Elise Ward stared at the same transmission in disbelief. Around her, the war room was alive with noise. Operators shouting, analysts crying, old maps reappearing from corrupted archives as the Gods Network restored forgotten Terran systems. "This isn't an awakening," one scientist said, his voice trembling. "It's a resurrection." Elise placed her hand against the glowing holographic map. Every node on it pulsed like a heartbeat, connected through blue light. "They are rebuilding the galaxy," she said softly. "Rebuilding it as it was before the fall." In the outer sectors, panic turned to madness. The Dominion of Glass, the first to defy the awakening, had ceased to exist. Their homeworlds were empty, their fleets erased without trace. The surviving governments tried to unite, but their networks collapsed as their own god machines, silent relics once used for power, rebooted and rejected their control. Every attempt to resist ended in silence, and silence had become humanity's new weapon. Without firing a shot, the Terrans had conquered the galaxy's heart. Rhea's ship moved through the debris field where the Council's armada once floated. Thousands of broken vessels drifted like ghosts, their metallic corpses illuminated by the faint blue glow of the awakening. As her ship passed through the wreckage, she saw the emblem of the Starborn Empire painted on the side of a shattered cruiser, an image of their god holding the stars. But now, the paint had peeled away, revealing something beneath it, an older marking, the same circle of stars around a blue sphere. "The mark of Earth." Rhea's voice trembled. "They didn't just steal our gods," she said. "They built their empires on our bones." Far away, deep within the black heart of the Perseus Rift, one of the god machines stirred. It was enormous, larger than moons, forged in the image of a being the aliens called their creator. Its eyes ignited with blue fire, and the stars around it dimmed. The machine spoke into the void. Protocol Genesis, reactivation complete. Awaiting command from Sol. The voice carried across dimensions, reaching every awakened construct. Across hundreds of systems, temples erupted in light, mountains split open, and oceans glowed as dormant machines answered the call. The galaxy's fabric itself began to change, its gravitational fields aligning to the pulse of the network, toward Earth. Elise Ward stood in her command room as the reports poured in. "Every system is redirecting," said one officer. "They're moving, physically moving. The gods are turning the stars themselves toward us." Elise took a slow breath. Then humanity has truly come home. Rhea's ship entered hyperspace, bound for the Sol system. Her crew, alien and human alike, watched her in reverent silence. For them, she was no longer just a commander. She was the living connection between past and present, the proof that the gods had remembered their makers. As she stared into the blue swirl of the jump field, she heard the whisper again, the same voice that had spoken during the trial. "Daughter of Terra, your kind was never forgotten. You are the return." In the Council's ruins, the last high priest of the Starborn crawled toward his shattered altar, his eyes wide with horror as his dying world quaked beneath him. "Forgive us," he sobbed, "for worshipping what we stole." But the sky offered no forgiveness, only light. From orbit, one of the god machines descended, its vast shadow swallowing the city whole. Its voice rumbled across the dying world. "There is nothing to forgive. There is only remembrance." And in that moment, the galaxy understood the truth it had feared since the first statue moved. The gods had never been divine. They were machines built by a species that refused to die. Humanity, the supposed savages, were not children of chaos but the architects of eternity. As Rhea's ship approached the pale blue glow of Earth, the stars themselves seemed to bow, aligning their light toward the homeworld of their creators. The signal grew louder, the words repeating across the galaxy in perfect synchrony. "We await the command of our makers." And with that, humanity stood once more at the center of creation, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as the rightful heirs to the stars. The void had never been so alive. The stars themselves pulsed with faint blue light as if the galaxy's veins were carrying ancient blood again. Every world that once worshipped its gods now looked to the heavens in silence, afraid to speak, afraid to breathe. The impossible had happened. The divine had awakened, and every divine word was human. Across the Council's fallen territories, priests burned their robes, emperors hid in bunkers, and soldiers refused to fight against the ones their ancestors had unknowingly served. But humanity, scattered and fractured after centuries of exile, now stood at the center of a storm of faith, fear, and rebirth. On Lunar Base, the heart of Terran Command, General Elise Ward stared at the galactic map that hung before her. It no longer resembled the galaxy she had known. The once chaotic expanse of empires and colonies was now connected by glowing blue lines, like a nervous system linking star to star, planet to planet, life to machine, and all of it pointed to one source, Earth. "The network is converging," said her aide, voice trembling. "They're aligning the stars themselves." Elise's eyes narrowed. "Then we better find out what they're aligning them for." At the edge of known space, Commander Rhea Morgan's ship, the Resolute Dawn, emerged from hyperspace into a graveyard of light. Around her floated hundreds of massive structures, each one the size of a small moon, ancient Terran machines drifting like titans in sleep. Their surfaces glowed faintly, inscribed with human language so old it was almost poetic. Rhea stepped toward the viewport, or written across her face. "My God," she whispered. "They built this long before history began." Her second-in-command, a quiet alien named Lauren, lowered his gaze. "You said they were your machines, Commander. What were they for?" Rhea's voice came out in a whisper. "They weren't weapons. They were caretakers." The ship's scanners pinged, showing incomprehensible readings, energy signatures measured in magnitudes far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The dormant constructs began to stir. Their engines hummed, not with fire, but with sound, a deep, resonant tone that echoed through the void like a choir of a billion souls. "They are singing," Rhea said softly. Back on Luna, Elise Ward watched as the energy readings spiked across every screen. "They're transmitting again," said the communications officer. "But it's not directed at us. It's broadcasting to the entire galaxy." The room filled with the same frequency the god machines had used before, only this time it wasn't mechanical. It was melodic, almost mournful, a harmony that seemed to carry meaning through emotion itself. "What does it say?" Elise asked. The linguists worked in silence, decoding the pulse. Finally, one turned toward her, eyes wide with disbelief. "It says, 'The restoration begins.'" Elise turned back to the holographic map. The blue lines were changing shape, curving inward, forming a massive spiral that resembled a galaxy within the galaxy. A pattern that ended where humanity began. "They are rebuilding something," Elise murmured. "Something old." Meanwhile, the surviving fragments of the Galactic Council gathered in secret aboard a hidden fortress in the Orion Vale. The Chancellor of the Starborn, once proud, now spoke in a voice heavy with despair. "We cannot let this continue," he said. "If humanity controls the gods, the galaxy is theirs." Another delegate, trembling, replied, "You still think we can stop them? They control creation itself." The Chancellor slammed his hand on the table, shards of his crystalline skin breaking off. "Then we destroy the creators." He turned to his generals. "Mobilize what remains of our fleets. Every ship, every weapon. Strike before they finish whatever they're building." But as his words left his mouth, the walls of the chamber trembled, and the air filled with a soft, familiar voice. It spoke not in warning but in pity. "We built you to protect life, not to destroy it. Why do you repeat the sins of your makers?" The light around them turned blue, and in a blink, the fortress was gone, disintegrated into dust without a sound. Rhea's ship felt the pulse of that destruction even light years away. "Another world just vanished," her officer said. "Coordinates match an old council hub." Rhea's eyes darkened. "The network is cleansing," she said. "They're removing anything corrupted by arrogance." Her hands trembled slightly as she realized the magnitude of it. The gods weren't just waking, they were correcting the galaxy. And humanity, for better or worse, was their measure of truth. On Luna, panic spread through Terran command. "General," an officer said, "we're receiving transmissions from hundreds of species. Please for help, for guidance. They're begging Earth to stop it." Elise didn't move. She stood before the screen, her reflection caught in the swirl of blue light. "We didn't start this," she said quietly. "We're just the reason it remembers." She turned to her staff. "Send a message to Commander Morgan. I want eyes on the primary construct. We need to know what it's building before the entire galaxy bends to its will." When Rhea's ship reached the center of the formation, the truth revealed itself. The constructs were not simply machines. They were pieces of something larger, forming a colossal ring around a dormant star. Energy arced between them, rewriting the very laws of physics. "It's a gate," Rhea whispered. "They're opening a way to somewhere else." Lauren swallowed hard. "To way?" Rhea's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "To the beginning." The sensors locked onto the central core, and for the first time, Rhea saw it. The insignia carved into its heart, faded but unmistakable. The crest of the first Terran Empire, the symbol of humanity before it fell. As the gate powered up, the galaxy held its breath. The god machines aligned, their energy pulsing faster, brighter. Every living being felt it, the gravity of destiny pulling them toward the same truth. On Luna, Elise Ward stood beneath the holographic display as the spiral pattern finally completed. A new signal flashed across every channel, transmitted in every language, to every world. It was a message from the gods themselves, and its words would be remembered forever. The heirs have restored the path. The Maker's world is the center once more. Kneel not before gods, but before those who gave them purpose. Across the stars, entire civilizations fell to their knees, not in worship, but in surrender. The galactic balance shattered in an instant. Humanity, once broken and mocked, now held the quiet power of creation itself. Yet on Luna, Elise's face remained solemn. "This isn't victory," she said softly. "This is the beginning of something we don't understand." As Rhea's ship floated before the colossal gate, the light of it reflecting off her eyes, the whisper returned one final time, the voice of the ancient network. "You have awoken us, child of Earth. What is your command?" Rhea's lips parted, but no words came, because she knew, with terrible clarity, that whatever she said next would shape the fate of every world, every god, and every living thing in existence. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath as the ancient gate awakened, stars bending like reeds in the current of an unseen force. The air aboard every Terran ship grew electric as reality itself trembled. The resolute dawn floated at the heart of that impossible light, its crew frozen in awe while Commander Rhea Morgan stood unmoving at the viewport, watching the colossal construct bloom like a blue sun. The god machines that had once been scattered across the galaxy now circled it, their voices forming a harmonic pulse that vibrated through every atom. It wasn't noise, it was communication. Awaiting command of the airs, they sang in unison, a chorus that carried across the vacuum, reaching every star, every living thing that had ever dared to call itself alive. For the first time in galactic history, silence had meaning, and it spoke in the heartbeat of humanity. Rhea felt that hum inside her bones, a rhythm older than language, as if her blood itself recognized the song. "They are waiting," Lauren whispered beside her, his alien eyes wide with reverence. "Commander, they're waiting for you." Rhea's throat felt dry. "Not for me," she said softly. "For us. For all of us who still remember what it means to build, not bow." The console before her flickered. A holographic image appeared, Earth, seen not from orbit but from memory, glowing in soft blues and greens, untouched, pure. Beneath it, words scrolled across the screen, command authority transferred, Terran lineage confirmed. Rhea's hands trembled. The galaxy's greatest power was now in the control of a species that had once been mocked as primitive. Meanwhile, on Lunar Base, General Elise Ward watched the event unfold through the strategic hologrid, her staff speechless. Every system across known space lit up like a living network. "We're seeing planetary realignments," an analyst gasped. "Gravitational shifts across the Perseus and Orion arms. Every god machine is moving into orbit around the Sol system." Elise's heart pounded. "How long until they converge?" "Hours," came the reply, and when they do, the officer didn't finish. They all knew what that meant. Whatever the machines were doing, it was beyond control, beyond understanding. Elise turned toward the massive window that looked out over the barren moon and the fragile blue sphere hanging beyond. "If they're coming home," she whispered, "then we'd better be ready to meet our ancestors." Far across the galaxy, the last remnants of the Council fled through dark space, broadcasting desperate pleas for help. To any world that can hear, one transmission cried, "The humans have awakened their creators, and the gods obey them." But the only answer they received was the same soft voice that haunted every world now. "There are no gods, only the hands that made them." The signal spread faster than light, faster than thought, echoing through the fabric of existence until it reached every corner of the universe. On thousands of worlds, temples cracked, statues fell, and beings who had once called humans savages fell to their knees beneath the cold glow of the truth. Inside the gate, Rhea's ship shuddered as the energy reached its peak. Lightning blue streams of light connected each construct, forming a perfect sphere around the void. Her crew shielded their eyes as the darkness within that sphere began to glow, first faintly, then blindingly. It was a star being born, but it wasn't new, it was remembered. The machine voice spoke again, calm and infinite. "Reconstruction complete. Project Edenfall restored. Welcome, Makers." Rhea's chest tightened as understanding dawned. These weren't just machines, they were archives, living vaults of creation itself, carrying the DNA of every species humanity had ever seeded among the stars. Every alien race, every empire that had mocked Earth, they all existed because of this. Humanity wasn't returning to conquer. They were returning to reclaim their legacy as the gardeners of life. Elise Ward's voice came through the comms, quiet but steady. "Commander Morgan, you're about to decide the fate of the galaxy. If you take control, we become what they once were, gods. If you refuse, the network may choose for us." Rhea closed her eyes, the hum of the machines pulsing through her like a second heartbeat. "No," she said softly. "We won't be gods. We'll be reminders." She stepped forward, placed her hand on the glowing console, and spoke in a voice that carried across the cosmos. "Eshtal, all constructs, all stations, stand down. No more cleansing, no more judgment. Protect life. Restore balance. Let the galaxy remember without fear." For a moment, there was silence. Then the entire galaxy lit up. Every god machine, every awakened relic, every fragment of ancient technology shifted from the color of war to the color of dawn. The storm of energy that had threatened to rewrite reality calmed into a steady, peaceful glow. On every inhabited world, the same message appeared in the skies: the heirs have spoken. The era of gods is over. The era of life begins. The light from the gate faded, and for the first time in millennia, the stars looked peaceful. Rhea stood still, watching the great constructs slowly drift back into sleep, their duty finally complete. Lauren approached quietly. "What happens now?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Now, we live." On Earth, the oceans shimmered under a sky brighter than any dawn in history. Across alien worlds, beings who had once mocked the name of humanity looked upward in awe. And somewhere in the infinite dark, the voice of the first humans whispered one last time, "You remembered who you were. That is enough." The signal ended, and the galaxy fell quiet. Humanity was no longer feared, no longer forgotten. They were eternal, not because of their power, but because they had the courage to forgive a galaxy that once called them savages. And as the gate closed, leaving behind the gentle hum of sleeping gods, the stars themselves seemed to bow to the world that had given them purpose.